as American as apple pie. This phrase was my inspiration for the fragrance blend choice for this soap. Ever since I made the American flag soap with melt and pour a few years ago, I had also wanted to make it with cold process soap. However, because I lacked the patience needed to do a multiple layer technique, I tried a different way to achieve it. Unfortunately, it did not work out. So, in a way, this is a fail soap, but it didn't turn out that bad. It took me 2 days to make this soap. On the first day, I only made the red portion of it, so this was fairly simple. I had about 20 ounces of oils that I had warmed up, and I added about 3 teaspoons of trial by fire mica to it. When you're making a single color soap, it's always easier to distribute the color to the oils before adding the light water solution. So I did that, and it created a bright red oil mix. Then when I added the light water solution, I brought it to emulsion, and after that I added the fragrance blend. The fragrance blend also included some vanilla stabilizer because 2 of the fragrances do have some vanillin, and I wanted to avoid this portion turning brown. I used a divider to pour it on a portion of a tall and skinny mold. And even though there was some leakage at the beginning, because the apple cinnamon fragrance has a lot of accelerating capabilities, the soap batter got thickened pretty fast and nothing else leaked after that. The next day, I removed it from the mold and I started cutting it. Initially, my idea was to cut it using a loft splitter. However, the loft splitter that I have is too narrow, so it didn't fit in the direction that I needed it to fit. And instead, I had to try to cut it with the single bar cutter. This didn't work because this block of soap is too tall for it. So then I had to try to cut it in both directions with it, and at the end I tried to cut the middle with a knife. This was not successful. It didn't work out even though I tried to use a thinner knife. It was just cutting a small portion of it, like a sliver of soap, and not the section that I needed. I tried to work around this by dividing my soap block in half. That way, instead of having a long strip, I will have 2 smaller ones that I could put side by side, and this will fit in the single soap cutter. However, this did not work out either. Apparently, the layer needed to be so thin that my single soap cutter could not do it. So I decided to go ahead and just cut a thicker strip, and later my plan was to make it thinner with a roller. And even though this worked out somehow, it required too much effort and time for me to do it like 26 times. The blue stars, by the way, are from the same project from a few years ago with Melt and Pour. I had extras and I had saved them, so I'm getting to use those here. In the end, I resigned myself to, instead of doing the 9 bars that I had in mind, I was only going to do 4 into a smaller cavity mold. I cut shorter strips and I placed them in the rectangular mold in the way that where they should go. And later, my plan is to just fill the empty spots with a white soap. I realized that the space in between the lines is very narrow, so I would need to keep my soap butter very thin in order to make it go through and avoid having empty air pockets. Next, I will make the white soap butter to fill in the spaces, and I use titanium dioxide for that. Lately, I started mixing it with water, and it's been a lot easier than mixing it with oil. It dissolves very quickly, but this only works if your titanium dioxide is water soluble, like the one from Nurture soap is. I thought this portion was gonna be the easy part, just pouring the white on top, but alas, that was not to be. I decided last minute to use, as part of my fragrance blend, a spice fragrance formulator because I figured that will give it that apple pie taste or smell to it. But I forgot that spice thickens up a lot and very fast. So by the time I finished mixing it in the white soap butter, it thickened it up a lot so that I was having trouble pouring it. It just it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. But I'll show you what it looks like the following day. Here they are. As you can see, they're covered with the white soap portion, and there are some air pockets on the sides, but I'm thankful that there weren't as many as I was afraid there were going to be. I tried to use the bar cutter to remove and scrape away that top layer so that the pattern can be revealed. This worked to some extent, but I'm going to finish it up with the soap planer. Next, I will include the pictures of how they look after they've been cleaned up. And I want to thank you for joining me today. I will not have a video on Monday because of the holiday, but I should have one on Friday. Have a happy 4th of July, and I hope you have a great one. Bye.